Shut up, compressor.
Yeah, low shape proposed. Repeat low approach. Search for the set to allow initial pre-cap present position re-enter for departures.
Hey everyone, Matt here with Duke's Models, and welcome back to the Weasel-Off, where I take a comparative look at different elements of the F-4G Wild Weasel kits from Meng and Zoukei-Mura. In this third installment, we're going to be looking at fuselages. Now, Zoukei-Mura and Meng take different approaches to the fuselages. As you can see here, this one is fuselage halves that join together. Meng uses a one-piece design. But beyond that, how do they kind of stack up? Well, I'm going to look at one at a time and then just kind of provide a verdict on which one I think is the strongest entry at the end. So, starting with the Zoukei-Mura, I think the first thing that leaps out to me with this kit is the really nice, crisp detail that you see along a lot of it. Now, that is slightly marred by the fact that there is a slight surface over much of the kit. It's nothing like, with an Academy Phantom I encountered, like, literally roughness, like sandpaper. This is more that, like, mold texture that you find on all kinds of kits nowadays. So, a light sanding with a relatively smooth sanding sponge will take all that off, and you're good to go. And then you're left with a nice high level of detail. There are a few things, though, with the fuselage halves that are both pros and cons. So a big pro of it is that you get to have the heat shield just as a part of the fuselage. This, is a distinct line that's going to be masked for bare metal, etc. But you don't want to have a nasty join there. And some other manufacturers, Academy, have struggles with that being, a bit too wide or a bit too narrow and having to like spread the tail out to make it all fit. It's a bit of a mess. So I, for one, personally like having the heat shield set up like this. And then the join goes right where the arrestor hook is, and you have a little bit out here you need to take care of, but that's not that big of a deal. The other nice thing is that you get to, put the fuselage and you get nice sidewall detail out of it. Yay, that's fun. But there are certainly downsides as well. One downside is because the bottom is pretty wide open except way back here and right up here, you have all kinds of flex, particularly in the main body of the fuselage, and that makes it tricky to handle and get glued in well and all that. You also have a central spine that needs to go in, and I try very hard not to just let this completely piss me off, but essentially, if you look right in here, you have this line of rivets right on top of the joint going all the way back on both sides. A lot of people, when they glue this in, this top dorsal spine piece, they think that's separate panels. There's a panel line right here that basically needs to be preserved. That is not true. The panel line is down here. It's that thing. And you've got a couple cross panels going across. Those do need to be preserved, but this longitudinal thing here, the black, needs to go away. And Zoukei-Mura doesn't do a great job pointing out. Honestly, to me, it doesn't do a great job pointing it out. But yeah, you look at reference photos and yep, it's not there. So that's not a big deal. Erasing a panel can be done. I think I've got a pretty good handle on it here. It's doing it right next to the rivets. That is just a soul-sucking job. So yeah, that's a bit maddening. I'm also not a fan of the tip of the tail here and the way that installs. Just, it's that old Hasegawa thing of taking a mold and just figuring out how many different ways you can slice it and dice it and use it for different variants. It probably means that's why we're getting a G, and I appreciate that, but that's just ugly. I'd rather have them provide a separate tail that joins and has all this integrated. But yeah, this also really leads to a bit of a short shot here on the fuel dump. You can see it right there, but that's a pretty easy fill with some CA. The other frustrating element of the fuselage halves, and this may be a bit of getting ahead of myself here, is the nose and the way the nose joins up. So when I first went to test fit this, you can see it in the actual video for building this thing up, the nose was way, 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 way too wide for the fuselage. And it didn't help that the little mounting collar, like the ring that kind of aligns things, is on the fuselage, not on the nose. So the nose just kind of like existed over it. I literally had to get in there with a little resin boot stamp thing and shove it into the opening for the radar warning receiver, and basically hold that open enough to get a pretty good fit on the nose, and then just kind of glue it all down and hope for the best. Come on, guys. I mean, that part is sloppy and frustrating and annoying. So, yeah, some good, a lot of annoyances in, like, just the fit battles that you have to endure with this kit. I think the fuselage and the dorsal spine and also the nose up here, easily my least favorite parts of Zoukei-Mura kits. Although the F-4D fit much better than the G does. I mean, they're different fuselages, the longer nose, etc. But still. So, with that, let's take a look at the Meng fuselage. You can immediately notice that all the issues with the spine are not issues because there's no need to worry about it. Everything is just there. Once again, no panel line right there, it's just rivets. But there's no dorsal spine to fight with and none of that shit. The tail also, this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it could go either way. It could be really dicey, could not be. I think they handle the tip better. And so it all comes down to how well it joins. I'd say that fits the bill quite nicely. There's also the question of when you go one piece. This is the first question I had when I saw this kit cut up this way. What about the heat shield? How does it fit? Will it actually fit well, or will it be the Academy situation where you have to figure out a way to spread the fuselage out? Well, here's the heat shield. We'll talk about it later. Basically, you can watch this live. Yoink. I think with hand pressure and glue, yeah, that will absolutely suffice. Completely and totally. And then what about with the wings and how does the one piece fit on top of everything else? Well, pretty much like that. It's got little tabs in the fuselage here that seat into the wings. Everything fits nicely. It fits nicely up front. And then, how I had all those problems with the nose on the Zoukei-Mura kit? Well, Meng decided to put the mounting collar onto the nose. So if anything needs to spread, it can do it. But it doesn't need to because it fits perfectly. So, how about that? So, when it comes to the fuselage itself, the actual centerpiece of pretty much any aircraft kit in existence. Hold on, I gotta separate this. Which one comes out ahead? Is it the Meng, the one piece, or is it the more complicated, more ill-fitting Zoukei-Mura? Well, honestly, I think this is the easiest call that we're going to make this entire time. The Meng is definitely the better option here. I know a lot of people have complained somewhat about some of the panel detail being too heavy, but honestly, it just looks really crisp to me, and I feel like that crispness might be part of why it seems heavy, just because it's like so well defined compared to a lot of the vagueness and light, soft look to a lot of the detail on this Zoukei-Mura kit. So yeah, that is the fuselages. Of these two, Meng wins this round. Let's see kind of who keeps taking these going forward. So far, it is Zoukei-Mura 2 to Meng 1. Zoukei-Mura has the better ejection seats and the better cockpit. Meng has the better fuselage. As always, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for the next Weasel-Off video, and you gotta be shitting me.